Hello, welcome to the Blackout podcast where I get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today, I'm so excited for this one. I've been dying to make it happen. My friend and self-love coach, Courtney Frost, thanks for coming to the Blackout podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Okay, let's start with that. What is a self-love coach?
Exactly what it sounds like. So my mission is to help people, specifically women, to learn to love themselves, and what that looks like, to recognize what loving yourself means and what that could mean for your success and how you show up for yourself in the world.
Yeah, I think, I was reading an article, can't remember the title, but I was reading this article and it was talking about how, 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have cell phones. So, the article was basically talking about how he sees him growing up as a teen versus him seeing his teens now. And he's like, his parents were worried, like, oh, he's going out, he's going to be in trouble. But his trouble was like going to the pond, hanging out with friends, drinking.
Yeah.
But the trouble that his kids is worried about is like, they're just getting bombarded with body image and you don't look good. Like, it's on your phone. You can't escape it.
You can't.
Because like back then, if someone had to tell you something, they had to tell it to your face or they had to actually make a phone call. But right now, he's right there and he's like, he was struggling with like, should I let my kids have a phone or not? And I'm like, wow. I don't have kids, but yeah, it's like, I can't even imagine it.
It's a lot to manage. I have a 14-year-old and an almost 6-year-old, and the phone's a lot. My oldest does have a phone. He doesn't have any socials, so he's not bombarded with that. But I know lots of friends whose children they're on social media, and it's, as soon as they get up, they're getting messages. Half the kids now, once they're 11 years old, they're all on Snapchat. And so then there's the instant messaging as soon as they wake up, and they're bombarded with all these messages, and there's TikToks and Reels and YouTube shorts that are constantly cycling through, and without having that conversation of context around it, then it's just being absorbed blindly. There was an interview, I believe it was on Ellen DeGeneres years ago with, the buddy from Third Rock from the Sun, the kid. Anyway, I can't remember his name now, but anyway, he was talking about when he was growing up that his family would have a conversation. If they were watching the basketball game, all the cheerleaders came out, his mom would take a moment and say, okay, so what we're viewing now is portraying the idea of, the strong men are playing the game, the strong knight, and the women are coming out and celebrating him because, and that just gets absorbed. It's like, women are going to fawn to the men because they're big and they're strong and they're going to save us, and we're going to be the weak princesses who need saving, and we need someone to champion. And it was just this moment that clicked. At the time, I was working at a video game store, so I was having lots of conversations about ratings for children in games and things, but I was always defaulting to the back. It's like, has a mature rating for these 5 reasons. But then as soon as I watched that interview, I'm like, whoa, if you're not talking to your kids about what they're consuming. So now when I watch movies with my children, especially when we watch movies from the 80s and the 90s that I grew up with, it's like, okay, we need to pause and we need to just have a context conversation. Like, none of this was appropriate in the 90s. However, it's having those context conversations. So like talking to your kids, especially about body image, because it starts so early, and it's not exclusive to little girls. It's boys as well. And like, they're constantly shown what they should look like. And none of the stuff in social media is for your benefit. It's all these messages that come from big marketing. Like, it's when we look at women in media, it's for the male gaze. When we look at men in the media, it is also for the male gaze. And it's that dynamic of, men need to look a certain way, and, they need to be chiseled, they need to be ripped, and it's like, but not too ripped. And, and like women, we need to be soft and we need to be small, but not too soft and small, but you need a big ass, and like all these different things.
Right.
And depending on where the pendulum's swinging, like we go into that thing, like, bit of meat on your bones, it's totally cool. But then the pendulum will swing and it's like, no, we want everyone to be very fine lines and everyone to be very slender. And we're kind of coming back into that swing of that, like, late 90s, like very, I can't even think of any of the models' names, but just super hyper slender.
Yeah.
The body positivity movement came in about 10 years ago, and I prefer body neutrality.
You use that. Whenever I use it, I keep pointing it. But yeah.
And so like, and it's a wonderful conversation, but as we have these conversations, it can be very politically charged too, because, you know, the more that women feel good about themselves, we have more of a voice. And, you know, it's like there's all, this could be very political, you know, and it's like very much, you know, about the patriarchy and things and systems and things that keep women in places. And we talk about systems of oppression, you know, and women being in certain places as well. And like, but if women feel too good about themselves, it's like, that's dangerous. We don't really want that.
Right.
And, you know, especially a system that's built to benefit men, particularly white men. And like, so there's a lot of context conversations. We're a big context conversation in my household, which is good because my 14-year-old has questions back, which is wonderful. And but what we view, if we're not taking time, and especially where everything's in like 30-second bites now, it's constantly,
yes.
and we're scrolling, and it's just like nope,
and it never ends.
It doesn't. You're like, just another one.
End.
I want one more good dopamine hit, and I'll put the phone away and go to bed. 45 minutes later,
I know.
if you're lucky.
I know.
And it goes from there. And so you don't even have time to process. Whereas like in the 80s and the 90s, we didn't have these things. And so, you know, you watched a movie and you just absorbed it. And without having that context conversation, it just became like sinking into your subconscious. And like our subconscious is programmed by the time we're 7 years old. So like all the things that we've witnessed, how we've been parented, you know, whoever the grown-ups were, whoever our influences were, it's already hardwired by the time we're 7. And we can rewire that. It takes a lot of time and, you know, conscious effort. But if we're constantly scrolling and just absorbing messages and seeing like very like white girl Instagram aesthetic, you know, like everything in the house is white. There's like one lamp, there's one book, they're specifically placed, you know, everything's beige. And, you know, it's like, and it's not to say that I use Instagram and for my business and stuff. And it can be a powerful tool. It's a wonderful tool for sharing and connecting. But if we're constantly just absorbing content and just letting it sink in, and if you're not seeking content that is to your benefit, then the algorithm's just like, okay, cool.
That's
you want this, we're going to keep feeding it to you. And it takes a little bit of time, but the more you start seeking out different things on your Instagram and your social media, the algorithm will start to filter more of that. So if you're looking for more wellness, more whole things, if you're looking for people that look like you on Instagram, if you're looking for people who are shaped like you, you know, representation matters and in so many capacities. And that's really relevant. So if you're only looking at like the very curated Instagram, that's all you're going to get filtered, and you're just going to feel like garbage, and none of it's going to feel good, and it's going to continue those cycles, and like it's going to fuel all those narratives of your subconscious that's already wired to say you're not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not capable. And like the more we step into that and we start seeking more of that representation, like these people look like me, this is more my vibe, this actually makes sense to me, then the more we're able to step into that and be like, you know, I am worthy, and like reclaiming that back, because we were all born worthy. Like no one ever, like it was never like we weren't. It's just the systems around us, the programs around us. Kids are getting tablets and devices so early now, and they're just watching content after content after content that's just subconsciously telling them you're not enough, you're not worthy. And unless you're this, and like YouTube has so much content on there for these like children's channels, and it's just, again, it's very curated homes. Like, you know, they have all the things and they have all the toys and like they're constantly unboxing, and it's just, anyway, it's a deep rabbit hole when it comes to the social media. But
I was actually on that train of thought you were talking about. I was reading something, and apparently, like, these social media companies they just teach the algorithm to kind of find what keeps people interested, and then they found out that hate and feeling bad about people is what makes people, which is kind of weird, right? Like, stuff that makes people mad is what makes people tune in.
Yeah.
So They just like, okay, well, let's start going, and then they also found out like the way to keep people addicted is to not make them sure what they're gonna get next. So it's like you don't know what that next video is gonna be. It might be good, but you don't know what it's gonna be.
And you hope it's good.
Yeah.
And it's like gambling. It's like, well,
Yes.
it might be really good this time.
Yes.
It might be okay.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh no, I feel awful. And I'm
Exactly.
suddenly gonna really hyper fixate on everything I do tomorrow, and and it can trigger so many different things in you. Like if whatever you're susceptible to, like for me personally, I was recently diagnosed with a binge eating disorder, which is something I've known for a long time, but it's finally a conversation I'm having with my doctor. And so if I get into the side of Instagram where and there's a lot of good from it, like meal prepping, and then it kind of starts to bring in like the fitness and all the macros, and then I'll be like, I should start tracking. And then as soon as I start tracking, I get hyper fixated, and then all my like really restrictive behaviors, and then I'll start restricting, and then I'll start putting in food rules again. And so like I'm like, whew, I need to slow it down, and I need to start like changing up the algorithm. And it's the same with for your own personal self. It's like every time you have a conversation with yourself and it says I'm not worthy, you're just affirming that subconscious wiring. So when we take that moment to be like, whoa, hold up, that's not true. That's a narrative. That's a story I'm telling myself, and you're not getting caught in that loop. So they're called pattern interrupts. So like when you notice those behaviors coming in, you're like, whoa, this has got me triggered, and you have an opportunity in that moment. As soon as you're aware of it, you can react or you can respond. And one's going to give you a better outcome than the other one. And so for some things, you'll need much bigger pattern interrupts. Like you're going to need to go cold plunge. You're going to need to go have that cold shower.
No,
or go running.
no, we
so
talked
good. You should seriously go cold dipping. I'm a huge advocate for
We
it.
talked about this. I'm like, no.
You'll love it once you
No,
do
I wouldn't
it.
even start my cold shower. Are you like, I'm like, I should go. No. Like, I'm shivering just watching people do that on the screen.
But truly, if you can get through cold dipping, like you can get through anything. Like if it's all about your breath. So like when we're scrolling, we also, or like when we're reading, we're watching movies, we tend to start holding our breath, and that triggers our fight or flight response and keeps us in survival mode. And like we don't want that. And so like when we do cold dipping or have cold showers, it activates our vagus nerve, which is like going to give us that like healing response. And you can't stay in the cold water if you're not breathing. And like that's so crucial. It sounds like such a simple thing, like, well, we're programmed to breathe, but we're also programmed to like and the more we hold, the more we're holding tension in our body, and being able to breathe through it, like, and until you do it.
Oh yeah, so there's the other side to it too, where like it starts out good. So like there was this show, it was cider vinegar, whatever, apple cider vinegar. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
You've seen the show.
Well, apple cider vinegar is one of those things. Just like, you got something wrong, have some apple cider vinegar.
That's kind of what it is. So apple cider,
but it is magnificent stuff. But it's not the cure all for
exactly.
everything.
So, but the whole premise of this show was this lady. She was diagnosed with cancer, and then she found this thing online, and it all sounded good, but she wouldn't take the treatment she was supposed to take, and she now like got tons of followers, and because she was doing an enema cleanse, whatever, coffee, whatever thing. Anyway, it was all not true, but the whole anyway, if you have not seen the show, you should see it, because it's like it kind of starts out good, and it's not as if the thing wouldn't help, but it isn't like a cure-all.
No,
right?
Like cold dipping's not going to take all your problems away.
Exactly.
But it's like anything. But and the more power you give something, the more effect it's going to have. So like, and that's we see on Instagram, like manifestation. It's just like, just manifest it. But that's not how it works. Like manifesting isn't just saying like, I want $75,000 in my account. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like we'd all love that. But you have to take aligned action for that to happen.
But here's the thing though, it is cool. I'm telling you,
manifestation's powerful.
Yeah, I went to this talk, right? And this lady, obviously I didn't believe it, but she was good. She's like, you know what? She found out about manifesting, and then she wrote herself a check for $100,000 or whatever, and she put it under her pillow, and she would go to bed, and then I don't know, something happened and she got 100,000.
You have to believe it. And it's like when we want something, if you're calling that energy in, you have to take aligned action. Like you can't just say, I want it. You
Yeah,
have
that
to
is gonna
keep taking
happen.
steps
Yeah.
towards it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have a successful podcast. You had to say, like, guys, we're getting in the studio. You talk to your friends and say, we're doing this. Like, I believe in this and we're stepping for it. And now here you are. And it's been like, what, since 2019, I think your friend said?
Yeah.
Like, that's wild. And like, but that took, you didn't just wake up one day and have that happen. You had to take those steps, which is aligned action to the thing that you want. Because manifestation is just about turning yourself into a magnet to the goodness that you want. Because like you can also get the shit you don't want either. Like it's, if you're constantly telling yourself bad things, or like, oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not good, you're gonna attract bad energy. So you're gonna attract people who aren't there for your benefit. You're gonna attract, relationships that aren't serving you. You're going to continually go through like the patterns of like,
and that's especially the relationships one is the one, because you find out the person is almost always dating the previous person.
yes,
Like you can so you talk to them like, can't you see that you're kind of like, this is the exact same thing that happened last time, you know what I mean?
but they just look different. It's like you're in a different room, but it's everything's the same, but it looks completely different. It's like when you have those familiar dreams and you're like, this is weird, but it's very familiar. But like, and it's not just people we date, it's friendships as well. Like I was previously married, and I have met like my ex-husband in so many iterations in this life. It's a lesson that I needed to learn. It was until I was ready to set boundaries with the people in my life, I was going to keep people pleasing it and stepping into these roles where I was constantly in my servant energy as opposed to my service energy, and giving so much from myself and not doing anything for myself in return. And until I recognized that pattern, to be like, whoa, pattern interrupt, like and it sounds silly to just be like, oh, just breathe, but like, are you jumping jacks? I don't like jumping jacks, but it's whatever thing will work for you. And just taking that moment to say, I am worthy of more, I deserve more. And like, so, and the more we call that energy in and we tune those things, like, and it's not just about like, I went to a yoga class and I feel wonderful, and that's great, but if you don't take those practices home with you, it's like, sure, I started going to yoga class and I'm like, this is an hour to myself and it felt glorious. And I kept going. And then I was going home and I still felt stressed. And then I went on my first retreat. And then I was like, this is amazing. My life has changed. If I'd had a passport, I would have been on the next plane to Bali, like literally the day afterwards. And then I went home. And my family wasn't on that transformative weekend that I was. So the reintegration part was difficult. So the more I seek these spaces, and then I start introducing these things at home, and then you start to recognize the more that you work and do these things and heal yourself, the more you heal the people around you. And I can see that in the conversations I have with my 14-year-old. I can see that with my partner. And like, he's been on a journey himself. And it was interesting when he spoke to a psychiatrist and he got home and he's telling me all about the things a psychiatrist. I'm like, yeah. And he told me at the end, he's like, yeah, my wife tells me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, right? And it's like, and not like he wasn't listening, but it just like, he was ready to hear it, because this is all stuff that I've been practicing and all stuff that I've been doing at home and like modeling that behavior. And so when he was in that space, a previous version of him wouldn't have been receptive to that conversation. And the psychiatrist even said, he's like, most people take a few visits before they're willing to throw it all on the table. He's like, this is fantastic. Because he's like, I felt overwhelmed. Like I was just popcorning everything at him. And he's just like, no, this is fantastic. But again, it's because I've been going to circles. I've been doing retreats, hosting and participating, and like just constantly putting myself in those spaces and having those conversations back at home to be like, okay, this is what I'm finding and this is what's happening, and modeling that behavior. And then it spreads. It's like kindness spreads.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's talk about that though. Like, what's your, I guess, journey like with the retreats, from going to deciding to host them yourself?
So I haven't hosted any directly myself. I've co-facilitated.
Okay.
And about 4 years ago, I went to my first retreat. I love going on them.
What was what prompted you to decide to go? Those things
Um,
aren't cheap, right? So
no.
exactly.
The first one I went to, she highly undercharged for the spots, to be fair. When I reflect back, like I think I only paid like $900 for my spot. It was very inexpensive. It was a lot of money to me. I did not necessarily but I didn't. I was really late filing my taxes, and I just started going to yoga like maybe 4 to 6 weeks before. And I was really late on my taxes, so all of my child tax credits hadn't shown up. They showed up that day, and then my Instagram, a sponsored post came up for a retreat that was like 30 minutes away, and I was like, I've survived without this money for 3 months. I could go on a retreat. So I messaged I spoke to her, and just to check about, because they had people back out. It was still during restrictions. So there was some things, and some people backed out. So that's why they had the sponsored post. And anyway, I called my partner, and I was like, hey, what do you think about if I did this? And this was the first time I was someone who struggled to go buy myself a new sweater. I was the person who would if I was out, if you told me I had $10,000 and I had to go spend it all on myself, I would weasel every possible way to spend that $10,000 on myself, but actually for everybody else.
Oh, wow.
And I'd be like, this is totally for me, but it was actually for everybody. But so it was a lot of money for me to spend on myself. And I went to this retreat, and I didn't realize how much I was seeking spaces with other women. I really didn't have female friends, which I think is common for a lot of women. We get very pitted against each other very early in our lives. We basically come out the womb and we're told your female friends are going to be great, but you're all against each other. And you're constantly, like, that sister wound runs very, very deep. And so I went to this space, and there was like 17 of us. And I was like, I've never spent this much time with other women who also were in a space that wanted to share. And it was completely life-changing. Like, I went home, I felt on top of the world. And then I went to another retreat and another retreat. And then I went to this one retreat. I also do boudoir photography, like I model for. And I went to this retreat that my friend sent me. She's like, this has yoga and boudoir. She's like, you'd probably love this. So I went on that retreat, and then ended up meeting this woman who was hosting it. And then she and I ended up co-hosting. I was chefing for her retreats. And I constantly found myself in the circles, sharing with women, and it just really lit a fire. So I was still continuing to go to retreats and then assist with these other ones, like co-facilitating. And I don't know, I just couldn't go back anymore. It was something I couldn't turn off in my brain. Like, it felt right to be in circles in space with women, and like sharing my journey and sharing how others can also achieve this. And it's easy to say like, oh, but there's too much stuff with my husband and the kids. And it's just like, there's going to be roadblocks if you keep putting roadblocks. If you keep stacking the roadblocks up, they're going to be there. And it's like, until we have that switch that like, no, like, former version of me never would have went on that retreat. It was literally just the alignment of it all. I woke up, got all of my tax returns, child tax credits paid out for 3 months, and a sponsored ad popped up. If that hadn't have occurred, I probably wouldn't have ended up at a retreat. I wasn't seeking a retreat. I was enjoying going to yoga, knowing I wanted something more, but I really didn't know what it was. I wasn't Googling them. And the more I dig deeper, the more I invest in myself, the more I find the value in these spaces, and having people come together, having women come together and share and recognize that we're meant to be in community with each other. We're meant to lift each other up. We're not to constantly be like, okay, it's all good as long as you're not out succeeding me. You know what I mean? And it's like, it gets very Mean Girls-ish. And like, that's not what it's about. Like, there's enough of the pie for everybody. And like, so the more we come into these spaces and like we share, they're investments. And it pays dividends. The more you heal yourself, it heals the people around you. Like, the more, like, I can only imagine what you've learned from all these conversations with everyone who's come on. There's probably a takeaway that you take home to your wife and your friends and stuff, and you're like, whoa, I had this conversation and it really made it click. And I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and I looked into this, and like, and it's really beautiful. It's very cyclical. It's very, I don't know. it's just fucking beautiful. And I love it. And I love how you can be in a space and having these conversations, and you can see the shift in people when they're there. We just did a workshop with a boudoir photographer. Like, it was all about the ethics. So she was talking about, like posing and ethics and things like that. And I was there for a workshop all about self-love, and seeing the shift in the people who signed up for the weekend, just seeing the energy they came in with and like the energy they were leaving with was wild. You could see that shift where they're like, yeah, I am all that. Yeah. And like, that's powerful. Like, that's...
Talking about boudoir, how did you get into...
I left my ex-husband, and I always...
Left, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said love.
No.
Yeah.
There was a time.
Right.
All fairness, there was a time. But no, I had always wanted to do boudoir photography, but I always felt that I needed to lose weight. I always felt that it would be a gift for my now ex-husband for our wedding. And none of those things happened. And then I went to... After we'd separated, I was thinking about it again, and then suddenly I was typing and looking it up, and I found this gentleman. It was a husband and wife combo. They wanted to get into boudoir photography, so they were wedding photographers, and so he's like, I'm looking to build a portfolio, and he had, as a single mom, it was an offering I could afford, and I went to check it out. I did not love the photos, but it was okay. I wasn't at a place where I could,
right?
And that's a big piece of it. Is like, sometimes you go into these boudoir shoots, people will come in for them, and I certainly did, and I've witnessed this, women who've come in for shoots because I've done so much work with them now. And they're expecting this like light bulb changing moment, like everything's going to shift, and you go in and you're nervous and you're scared and you're just like, and then you're having the shoot and it's kind of like you're kind of nervous. By the end of it, you're like, yeah, let's take it all off, and then you leave and you feel like, I felt like fucking She-Ra. And then I got my photos back, and it just felt flat. And that was the purpose of the workshop we did on the weekend, was like that reintegration. And like, so when the client gets the photos back, what does that look like? And like having those self-love and working on your own body image so you're not projecting. But so fortunately I did continue seeking boudoir photography with other photographers, and I kept seeking witnessing myself. I didn't have the language for it at the time, but I was constantly looking for ways to see myself in a different way, which is interesting because like humans weren't supposed to see ourselves. You know what I mean? If technology hadn't occurred, we never would have seen ourselves. Like our reflections, like except for it was like a crystal clear day on a lake or a pond, like the most perfect piece of ice, we wouldn't have never seen our reflections, but we see our reflections all the time now. And so like, and society and social media and everything, it fuels how we feel about that and what that looks like. Like, the shape of our nose, how much of our chin, like, my double chin here, like all of that, we're told that it's not good. But the more we witness ourselves, the more we step into this place of being more gentle. And I can look at those first photos now, and I can look at them with gentle kindness. Were they my favorite photos? Hard pass. He was just learning. They're not my vibe. But I can look at them much gentler and be like, look at you standing up and doing the things.
Was there like an actual point where I was like, holy shit, me, I look good, or, whatever?
Yes. I did a shoot, gosh, I think it was like 3 years ago now. She popped up on socials, and I'd reached out, and I was like, feeling crappy. I need a shoot. I haven't had a shoot in a few years, and it was January. It was -20.
What?
It was so cold, and so
You did it outside?
We did, and so we took this like chaise lounge that she had. We shoved it in the back of her Jeep, and we trekked out to the woods and I did a nude shoot in -20 for an hour. My toes, I think, were almost frostbite, but it was like the first time I got and I'd had other shoots that I'd enjoyed, but this was the first set where they came back, and I was like, fuck yeah, like, look at this. And it was a shift. Like, it wasn't like I was piecing together like before when I'd had a shoot that I enjoyed. I was just like, oh, that one's nice. That one's nice. This would be better if. But these ones, I was looking at them and I was like, fuck yeah, I did that. I was outside for -20. I'm naked in those photos. And like, it just, it felt good and the energy had shifted and the perspective had shifted. But so much of that also came from one thing. After I left my ex-husband, I started taking selfies. And selfies sound really vain, but the more we can look at ourselves, it's like, take pictures, share them, be like, this is me. I feel good today. And, you know, that's powerful. We don't take them. You don't have to take them for other people. Take them for you. And like I started taking nude photos of myself without my face in them, because I would never look at a photo of someone else's body and think, oh my God, she looks awful. Like, do you see that? But having that cognitive dissonance and being like, if my body had someone else's head attached to it in the photo, photoshopped onto it, I wouldn't judge that body. Like, I would just see it as a body and be like, oh my gosh, these photos are gorgeous. These are stunning. Like, look at them, like celebrating all of their mountains, all of their valleys. And like, that's powerful. But as soon as your face is attached to it, there's something in your brain that just says, oh, I'm not loving this. Unless the more we witness ourselves, and like, Terry Hofford's a really good one. She talks about like turning the photo in different directions to be able to, again, look at it less as about you and just seeing shapes. And like, because every time we attach that photo to ourselves, if we are not in a place of kindness, we're just going to keep saying, nope,
All the
nope,
worst.
nope.
Yeah.
And exactly. So I am a big proponent of witnessing myself. And it started with boudoir photography, and then it started with more selfies, and then taking photos of myself naked without my head in them. And then I started cold dipping, and which I didn't expect cold dipping to be helpful, but my friend recorded videos of us when we were cold dipping for timestamps. So we knew when we went in and when we went down,
right.
and so how long the dip was. And she's like, by the way, we dance. And I'm like, okay. And then she posted it online, and I wasn't prepared for her to do that, which I should have known, because she shared all of her videos, and that was how I ended up going. I was like, hey, can I come sometime?
Right.
And so she shared the video of her and I dancing on the beach, and I'm like, and despite how many photo shoots I'd had at that point, it triggered something in me. It made me like, that's my body movement in real life, like movement, actual, as opposed to like boudoir photography, which is like a curated snapshot of a moment. And like, you can pick and choose, right? As opposed to, we're just dancing and prancing around the beach. And, you know, we go in and we get out, and then we get out and we're singing and dancing and prancing as we're getting out before we turn off the camera, before we quickly get dressed as quick as possible. And the more I cold dip, the more those videos became so important to me, because like, this is my body, how it actually looks and moves in real life. Because unless you're an asshole, I wouldn't be sitting beside you and you wouldn't say like, Courtney, you just no. You know what I mean? You wouldn't sit beside your friends and they wouldn't say to you like, Israel? No. They just wouldn't. Like, you know, we're sitting here and we can be so self-conscious about a photo, but it's like a photo. It's like, well, you know, I can suck it in. I can pose myself. I can like, you know, different ways to try to flatter yourself the way society has told us to. But this is what your body looks like. If you were sitting next to someone, we're sitting here together, this is what my body looks like presently with you. And again, unless you were hanging out with an asshole, they're not going to be like, Courtney, seriously. And I'd be like, it's soft. What's the problem? Like, and it took a long time for me to be okay with that my body's soft, until I had children. And they like to curl up in my belly. And for me to finally recognize that my body is a soft place to land, despite how hard I've treated it. And it's mine. This is your vessel is the only best thing that you're going to have, you know, for your entire life. We were born with it. We were blessed with this. And like, it's with us until our last breath. And for this whole journey, and it just sounds so exhausting to hate it. And like, I think witnessing is so important, and it's life-changing. And it sounds like a silly thing, and people be like, it can't be that easy. But the more you do it, it's not going to happen overnight, because you've spent a lifetime. Like, I'm coming up on 39, and it's like, it's only like 10 years ago. Like, I spent about 30 years of my life just actively hating myself and despising myself, and like hating the space I took up. and not believing that I was worthy or deserving or capable of anything. Me 10 years ago wouldn't have felt that I deserved to be in this chair sitting here having this conversation with you.
Wow.
And me now, I know I deserve space in rooms, and I deserve space at tables. I deserve to show up in spaces that feel in alignment and that feel comfortable and that feel like my voice is allowed to be heard regardless. And if you're in spaces where people are constantly trying to keep your voice quiet, they're not your people, right? Like,
Leave. I always say it's okay. Like, and it might seem rude, but you don't have to be there. Like, if you're in a place where you don't feel wanted, you don't have to be there,
No.
Because, like, if they don't want you there and you're not there, they're not going to miss you. So what? Like,
right. And if you're only there to serve them, like if it's that kind of dynamic of a friendship, then it's not serving you at all. And like, that's again how those relationships, it's not just partners, it's our friends. And it's not to say that those friendships didn't bring growth. It's not to say that those friendships didn't bring a lot of wonderful, beautiful times, but some relationships are meant to be a season and some relationships are meant to last for much longer. And it's when you start to find your people and you're like, I can show up so fucking messy. Like, I just had coffee before I came here with a friend who I only met her about a year ago, but she and I have only seen each other messy. We can show up so, and it doesn't take from each other. Like, she can have stuff going on, I can have stuff going on, and we can show up and we can share and hold space for one another. And neither of us leaves like, oh, I'm so drained because she had stuff going on and I don't have the capacity. It's not that kind of relationship. But when you start to find your people and you can have like, recognize that how you can show up and be like, hey, do you have time to listen? And like vice versa, it doesn't take from your cup. But and like how much we use the cup analogy, or like, with kids, there was the book that came out years ago about filling your bucket. And it's a beautiful analogy, but like, if you keep drilling holes in your bucket with how much you don't feel good about yourself, like, you need to start to repair the holes in the bucket, or you can keep filling it up, but with all the yoga classes you want, it's not going to fix it. Like, until you start doing that work and sitting with the discomfort and going home and being like, okay, now I'm in my space. How long can I sit with this? And before I'm drawn to move and seek those dopamine hits, to seek that distraction. And it's everywhere. It's in our phones, or like literally on our hips. And I drive without the radio on. And people think it's nuts, but the radio is a distraction. Putting on a show. And it's not to say any of these things are inherently bad. And because I do take time. Like yesterday, I did nothing. And I watched like 3 episodes of House, and it was glorious. I was by myself all day.
Oh, yeah. House the Doctor.
Yeah. I'm really behind the times and I'm only watching it now. But it was the first day I'd had in weeks by myself. And I had all these grand designs of things I was going to do. And I'm like, no, I'm going to rest. And I curled up with my cat and I just binged out on some Netflix and watched House. And it was glorious. And it was what I needed versus, seeking distractions and running out and being like, what else can I do?
Yeah, like that in the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And you're running and you're not going anywhere.
You don't. You have to slow down to speed up more often.
By the way, with your shoots, do you have anything you do to prepare for them?
At this point, I've had so many photo shoots, not so much. Before, I used to really kind of fuss over what I was wearing. Oftentimes, hair and makeup's involved when you sign up for these shoots. But more often than not, I'm showing up and I'm like, let's go. Like, what do you want to do? Like, I'm down for whatever. Or I'll text them, we'll have conversation. I'll be like, is there anything interesting that you would like to do that's not the normal box? Like the last shoot I did, again, it was middle of winter and I was naked for the whole shoot and we were outside for an hour. And and it was just a conversation. She's like, well, you can bring some pieces if you want. We'll see what we feel. And she's like, but if you're down with being naked. So we paraded around this property and it was fun. And like, so I'm at a point in my journey where I've worn all my outfits. I don't want to buy any more outfits. And so I enjoy having conversations with photographers where it's just like, what kind of weird shit do you want to do? Like, what do you have any ideas, like thoughts, themes, like that, like, and I have plenty that I want to do as well. And like, so that's kind of where I'm at is now is I want to do I want to do shoots that have. I've had my time where it's just like you can tell it's a boudoir shoot, and like.
Okay. Okay.
But if you're preparing for your first boudoir shoot, if you are, find something that feels good. Like if you have a color that makes you feel like fine as hell, fucking buy it. Like get the outfit. Like if you want to push yourself a little more out of your comfort zone, get something that's going to accentuate the parts of yourself. Like I would never wear stuff that was strappy before, but now my favorite photos are like super strappy panties and stuff, and like that accentuate my size and my shape. And previous version of myself could not have done that. That would have been like for behind closed doors strictly. And now it's like, fuck yeah, look at those photos. And it changes the energy.
Changes the energy. Okay, so let's talk about body neutrality versus
positivity.
Yeah.
When the body positivity movement started, I was really excited. I was seeing this rumblings online and kind of digging into it. I'm like, this is great. Like all bodies, heck yes, this is wonderful. But then the more I dug into it, it just didn't leave space for like the gray area. It was really black and white. It was like, we're going to love our bodies. Our bodies are great. Our bodies are wonderful. And if you were showing up like, but I don't feel good about my body, it felt like there wasn't a space for that conversation. So neutrality is about my body is a vessel. I do not have to love it. Like there's days I feel more loving towards my body, but I can, even if I'm not feeling great, I can still show my body kindness. Like I've personally been going through a health journey recently. Like I'm having hives constantly, and like they still don't know why. It's been 2 months, but like, and it's been difficult. I haven't felt good in my body, but I can still show up for my body. I can still move for my body. I can still nourish my body, even on the days it feels difficult. Whereas previous versions of myself, I would have started treating myself very unkindly. I would have been like, no, we're going to start restricting. We're going to stop eating. We're going to then binge because it's out of control now. And now I'm feeling really crappy. And we're going to get into all those yucky cycles, or worse things too. And so when we come from this place of neutrality, it gives space for the gray area. It allows us to say, how can I be kind to my body and honor my body because your body carries you every single day. My body got me here. Like you wouldn't be here if your body wasn't here, like your bodies are strong. And every time, like preparing for the workshop on the weekend, I started having a flare up. And I remember I had to pattern interrupt because I was like, okay, I need to get all the prep done ahead because I can't rely on my body. And I caught myself and I'm like, no, I can rely on my body. I need to pace myself because my body needs support right now. Previous version of myself would have pushed so hard. I would have ended up in a much bigger mess. I would have crashed and I wouldn't have been able to get through the workshop, and I would have let myself as well as everyone else down that was committed to my showing up, versus, okay, I'm prepping, I'm planning. I know my body's having a hard time. How can I honor and share and like respect my body during this time? And I did. I made sure that, I'm going to cut back my caffeine right now because I know that doesn't feel good in my body. I'm going to focus on the green tea. I'm going to make sure that I'm eating really clean, and I'm not going to stay up and eat chips, which sometimes we do. It happens. But, I just got really focused on that. I'm going to take breaks. I'm going to sit. I'm going to do this much prep work, and then I'm going to go take a break. And I'm going to go have a cold shower because it feels good, and it's good for your lymph nodes, and it's good for your vagus system.
Okay.
But yeah, all those wonderful things that we can do to nurture our bodies, even when we don't feel good in them. And when we have days where we wake up and it doesn't feel warm and fuzzy, how can you witness your body? What would it look like to step into a place where you looked at your body and were like, okay, we're in this together. How can we help each other? Because your body's going to show up for you no matter what.
Something you've said a couple of times is witnessing. Do you want to share,
Witnessing is one of the most powerful tools, and it can come in so many different ways, whether it's selfies or personal private photos of yourself naked, and if your head's in the photo, you can crop the photo down, and that really helps. I've had met this really interesting woman from down in the States, and she does you can send her a photo and she'll draw you and paint, and then you have the option to purchase it. And it was a really cool experience. So I sent her a photo and I sent her my story, and she's like, okay, cool. We had a little Zoom call and she shared the painting with me, and like, it still hasn't sold yet, so it's up for sale, but I'm hoping I can buy it myself soon, but we'll see. It'll go to the right person. But it was just another way to look at myself. And in this photo, like, my head's not in it. It's just literally my body from my neck down to my thighs. And it's beautiful just to take space and look at the shapes and the lines and the space you take up, because we're so often told to stay small. And exactly. And I've lived in a large body my whole entire life. And every time I've been told to be smaller, these were relationships that didn't serve me. And personally, I want to take up all the space. And I'm not saying I want to gain weight. I'm just saying I am in this space. My body deserves space to be here. My voice deserves space to be here. And so having these conversations, sharing my voice, sharing my story, showing up to circles, and when they're going around and be like, I'd like everyone to just take a moment, share a little bit about why they're here. If you're someone who never would say something before, I encourage you to say something. And it could be as simple as like, this is my first time coming and I'm feeling a little nervous. And that's taking up space. That's witnessing yourself showing up. And like, and the more we witness, it's acknowledging, it's reclaiming your worth. And I say reclamation because it was always there. And society and all these outside sources have told us that we weren't deserving of it. It didn't belong to us. And that's why we feel these feelings of not being enough. We feel lack of self-worth. And so the more we witness, it's like, I am deserving of being here. I am worthy of being here. My voice and my body deserve to exist and be seen. And you shouldn't have to cover that up.
I mean, because like one thing I know, it's like well, my grandma would say, it's okay to just be yourself and to put yourself out there and to smile, because you don't know what power like that smile or just someone seeing your face might be the reason why they're alive tomorrow. And it was like, what the fuck are you saying? But I've come over the years to understand that like, has happened where someone's like, just seeing how you're happy makes me feel good, and maybe made that person keep going. So that is wonderful that you do that. Okay, so witnessing, that's it. So you've come from yoga to going to retreats to co-facilitating. Are you gonna ever do like run a retreat or?
Yes, I have plans for one next year. Yes, I have plans for one next year. No dates or anything yet, but it's in the works, and I'm excited to get it going and just really curate a really healing, safe space for people to come in and just get curious, like, and so much that's what so much of this is about, is just get curious about what it would feel like to feel joy in your body. What does joy feel like for you? What does it look like? Like, most people can't name it. And like, one of the things, a friend and I, we co-host a weekly online sister circle. And one of the things we get the participants to do is we talk about celebrations, clearings, and desires. And women especially.
Celebrations?
Clearings and desires. And
okay,
women.
Celebration, it's in the name, but clearings and desires?
But with celebrations, oftentimes women really struggle to celebrate something about themselves. Right. And it can be as simple as like, I had a shower today. And like, depending where your mental health is at, that's fucking awesome. And if that's something you're celebrating, that's amazing. If, you got up and you did all the adulting today, that's amazing. If you signed a big deal, amazing. Like, I showed up to this podcast. That's something I'm celebrating, because this is like, I felt very nervous coming in, but like, and none of that was a reflection of you. It was just my nerves about like, I'm like, oh, I'm coming to talk to somebody. And that like that imposter syndrome steps up. But today I would say I'm celebrating that I showed up. I'm sharing my voice and my message and what that means to me. So today I'm celebrating that. And
clearing.
So when we talk about clearings, it's like, it's something, an energy that you want to clear. Like this week, I'm clearing the energy that imposter syndrome that crept up about coming in here this week. Right. Even though we've chatted lots and I've loved our conversations and it's been wonderful, that imposter syndrome, I'm like, oh, do I even deserve to be here? And it's like, the more we witness ourselves and the more we step into our self-love and we accept that our voice belongs, the easier it is to have that imposter syndrome be like, nope, this is my fear talking. This isn't an actual reflection of myself and how I see myself. This is my fear
Right.
creeping up because your amygdala's fired up and it's just like, hold up, we
What's
feel
going on?
nervous.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And that. So today I would be clearing that energy that I celebrate that I showed up. I'm clearing the energy that imposter syndrome is not my real voice. And something I desire is future conversations about how I can continue to share my voice. And that witnessing is really powerful. And so sharing that with your friends, and the more we have these conversations, to be able to then, witness that this is how I feel right now. And then we also then we witness them back, which is about mirroring, acknowledging, and understanding. So then it's like, I see you showing up and like sharing your voice. I'm celebrating you while you're coming in and accepting that your imposter syndrome is not your actual voice. And I'm witnessing you on this journey to further share your voice. And it can be more detailed than that, but it's not moving to fix, it's not moving to change, it's witnessing you in this moment as you are. And like, that's the more I do it. Like, my friend's been doing relationship coaching for a few years, and like, when she shared this with me, I'm like, oh, that feels good. Like, that feels like a hug. And the more I do it in circles with people, it just feels so cozy. And then the more I do this to friends, they're like, thank you. And because they haven't had this done to them. And I'm like, and then I
Right.
shared this with my partner one day, and I was just a wave of sadness hit me. And he's like, are you okay? And he's immediately like, he wants to fix. And I'm like, no, I'm just feeling really sad. And I'm like, it's okay if I'm just sad. Like, it's okay if we don't have to fix. And like, because I'd been talking about these circles and what we were doing, he witnessed me, and it was just like, and then I cried more because I was so happy that,
Oh, yeah.
because he was able to say, he's like, I see that you're sad and you're still showing up and doing all these things. And it was just when we witness people so often, like when a friend is venting to us, we want to fix. That discomfort comes up. It's like, oh, they're uncomfortable. So they're not feeling good. And like, I need to fix you. And because we're constantly all put into that mindset that we need to fix, we need to change. But it's okay to just witness people in that moment and acknowledge that, hey, are you looking for guidance, or do you just need to be heard? And that little shift in the conversation is massive. Most people just need to be heard. They need to be seen. They need to be witnessed because, wow, I've been dealing with this for so long, and everyone's trying to offer me a solution. And you know what the solution is 9 times out of 10. We always know what the answer is. Like, we're just working it out.
Yeah.
And being able to be in that moment to be like, my feelings are okay, because so many of us as children were told our feelings weren't okay. And like, it was a different time.
Yeah.
It was different.
Right.
But yeah, like, your feelings are valid, and like, having those conversations, it's a total game changer. And when we witness ourselves, we witness our friends, it's like a warm hug that says, I belong and I'm worthy. And so much of this all just comes back to that you're worthy and you're deserving and you're capable.
I think as human beings, when you find that place or that person or those people, it just feels, like you said, like a warm hug.
Yeah.
Okay, so a question I love sending guests out with is, what is something that happened to you before you were 17 that plays a huge role in who you are today?
Yes. Okay, so I've shared this in circles and things, but it's not something I've shared online yet. When I was 6 years old, it was first grade. This boy, and it sounds silly when I say it out loud, but it's not silly. This boy called me fat. I was 6 years old, and I went home and I was really upset. And I remember standing in the living room, shamefully telling my parents, like, I already knew that it was bad, that like being called fat was bad. And I'm standing there, like, kind of like, hey, so a boy at school called me fat today. And my parents, and I've done a lot of work. I no longer feel resentment or, fault them for this. It was, they did the best with what they could, and then tools and resources available to them. Their response, unfortunately, wasn't loving and supportive for what I needed in that moment. They put me on my first diet, and which ultimately affirmed to me that fat was bad and I didn't deserve to take up space. And it was further affirmed with other conversations in my life, but that moment of coming to my safe space and sharing that this happened to me, someone told me I was fat, and they're like, oh, well, we need to put you on a diet. And I was 6 years old. Wow. Like, and that's, I cried my tears over it, but it could have been a different conversation. Instead of setting the tone for how I viewed myself for the rest of my life, not the rest, for a large portion of my life, majority of my life, it was how I viewed myself. I always viewed myself as, I was that kid that was routinely bigger than everyone else in the class. And I was that kid that, you know, I was the kid who wouldn't eat in front of people because I was so, even though we need to eat to live, in my brain, I was telling myself like, oh, if they see me eating, it'll affirm that I'm fat, because heaven forbid you actually eat, because, you know, you need fuel in your body, because it's like a car with gas. Yep. But so yes, 6 years old, being told I was fat and being put on my first diet just affirmed to me all my subconscious pre-programming that I already had, because I remember feeling shameful. I remember feeling bad. I remember I was hiding on the corner of the wall and looking into the living room saying, hey, something happened. And again, like, it's something that I've made my peace with in terms of how my parents responded. It's not a conversation I've had with them, but, and it might be a memory that they don't even, it might not be a memory for them. This is a core memory for me, being put on this diet, and like, and then that becomes a conversation. Like, so often as children, we are, you know, our parents, they grew up in, you know, like World War II and different things and stuff. So like there's that food rationing, and it's like you eat everything on the plate, and like you're given adult portions instead of children size portions. And like there's all these things, and then food's put on a pedestal. Like, you know, if you're going to have cake after dinner, you can't have cake until you finish your plate. And all of these things really mess with us. So then you don't learn to listen to your body, because you're like, but I really want the cake. So I have to eat all of this, and you're going to ignore all of your body cues. And so I've worked very hard to not try to instill those things in my children, despite my own body conflicts and my own food relationships. And like, we're very much the household, if we were going to have cake, you know, or a sweet or something after dinner, it wouldn't be after dinner. You know, I would give them a portion of it, and it would just be on their dinner plate, and they can choose to eat what they want. My 5-year-old constantly says, I don't like this. I'm like, it's just an option on the plate. And I just keep putting it in front of him. And like, he's almost 6. Like, his stomach's only like this big. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I remember being given as a child, like, dinner plates full, and like enough for like a grown man, and being expected to eat it all. And then you don't listen to your body cues, and then you don't know what those body cues are, and then it just creates a vicious cycle. And when we put food on pedestals, it can be really dangerous. Wow. Like, but that's my story.
Courtney, thanks for sharing that, for sure. You're welcome. I'm gonna let you go with a little piece of magic, though.
Okay, I like magic. Okay.
So you're gonna write one number between 1 and 60.
1 and 60?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do not show me the number. Once you've written it, you can point to the camera. So when I do my magical reveal, they'll know that I did get it right. And these magical cards are going to help me figure out what your number is, hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So I can show them now?
Yeah. Is it in this one?
No.
No. Is it in this one?
No.
Oh, okay. Is it in this one?
Yes.
Interesting. Is it in this one?
Yes.
Huh. Is it in this one?
Yes.
Okay. Ready to get your mind blown?
Yeah.
39?
Yeah.
There you go. Everything you do is amazing, and thanks for really sharing that word, body neutrality. I really love it. And also thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.